Okay, so let's draft the pattern for the green Louis Vuitton inspired dress. So we have bodice blocks, which is usually how you want to start. If you don't have your own bodice blocks yet, check out the link in the description box where I linked a tutorial that I used to create my bodice blocks, which works really well. So we have a front and we have a back, and we're going to manipulate this so that it kind of resembles the dress that we want to make. To save time, I have already transferred these two pieces onto a new piece of paper, and as you can see here, I have traced the front on a fold so that we have the center front piece double-sided later on, so you can see better what the pattern actually is going to look like. We are going to create the bodice that has corset vibes because we have a princess seam that goes all the way from the shoulder down to the hip line. For this, you will need your pattern master. I don't have a miniature version of this, so I will have to work with my actual real size pattern master. And what we have to think about is that we have the bust here, so we want a nice curve around here, and that is basically already it. So we're going to place the pattern master so that we can draw a nice curve for the princess seam. But also the princess seam, after my alterations, turned out I needed a little bit more of an S shape to it. So what I did is I created a curve this way for the shoulder dart that then meets down here, and then another sort of S curve down here. So that's what that will look like. It looks a bit shiny right now. When I cut it out, you will see what I mean. So let me do that quickly. Okay, so when I spread out the pattern, you can see we have the center front piece and we have the two side pieces with the princess seam. To make it easier for you to match the pieces up once you sew them, it's always good to mark two spots on both pieces. Here it's the bust line, and this is how you're going to match them up later. For the back, we are going to do something quite similar. Trace this a bit wrong to begin with. So what usually happens is that your back dart is on the same line as your shoulder dart. So these could potentially meet up like so. Now when I cut those out, you can see that this would be the back. So we have the front and we have the back. However, I decided that I wanted no side seam. So what I did is I simply grabbed the two side pieces and taped them together. So you have to imagine this is one continuous piece now. So we have the front part, we have the side part without a side seam. So this is one continuous piece, and we have the back part. Now, as you know, the dress has a very peculiar skirt, which means that I basically grabbed my pieces and pretty simply cut little domes into the lower end of my bodice, like so. Then these two side pieces had one dome. And in the back had one dome, but a bit of an illusion because the zip was inserted in the center back. So this looked like that. So these are our bodice pieces for the skirt. I then simply placed those pieces onto a piece of paper and traced the domes. 1, 2, 3. So I then marked where they were, so center front, side seam, and center back. I grabbed my measuring tape. I assumed that this would be a mini skirt length. So for me, a mini skirt length is about 50 centimeters. I sussed out the center of each of those domes, and I then gave each dome an equal width on the hem. So say in this case that would be 2.5, 2 and 2.5. Simply connected these spots and I then cut them out. Okay, so we have the bodice and we have the skirt, and now the last thing is the sleeve. So for the sleeve, what I like to do is I grab a piece of paper, real size obviously, and I fold it in half. What you have to do is to first mark a line which is the tip of your shoulder. You then take a measuring tape and mark the next line, which is the end of your armpit. You then mark a third line where your elbow is, and you mark a fourth line where your cuff is going to be. Now I show exactly how to take these measurements in one of my last videos, which I'm also going to link in the description box. For the sleeve, because it is a very simple sleeve, we are having the dome, which you're going to draw with your pattern master. So you have this S curve. You then draw down this line to your elbow. Now we're going to cut because the rest of the sleeve is asymmetrical. Okay, so for the rest of the sleeve, you simply extend this line, place your pattern master so you have a 90-degree angle to this line, and draw another line like that. That's your cuff. Well, in this scenario, this is the end of our sleeve, so actually the cuff is here. And then you have this beautiful angle, which is where your elbow is going to hit, and that's how you cut it out. So the sleeve is asymmetrical, and it has a front and a back. So this is the front, and that is going to give us a better fit for the sleeve once we sew it together like this. The only thing you will have to keep in mind, obviously, is that the circumference of this line and the circumference of this line allows your arm to go through, and how tapered or how wide you want your sleeve to be at the cuff is all up to you. And that, my friends, should be it.